Hi, welcome to another Culture Mavens. We're so happy that Rabbi Nanus is back and has got some great things to share with us this week. Hi, Susan.
Hi, everybody. I am having back issues, which apparently everybody in the world has, because as soon as I say, oh, I hurt my back, everybody tells me about their back ailments, and everybody has a different cure.
But you know, I noticed because I've not been in my office and I've been working in a different chair that's not really an office chair, that it does affect my back a little bit. So I think probably a lot of people are experiencing back issues because of the sort of makeshift arrangements they've made to sort of work at home.
You're probably right. We should probably do a program on like good things for your back. Anyway, I know Tom wants to talk about the film of the week or the month or the year. Yep. Go right ahead.
Borat is back. We didn't know how much we missed him. We didn't know how much we needed him. Now he's back, and it's 14 years since the original Borat. It turns out that Sacha Baron Cohen, it's difficult for him to do Borat now. When he puts on his costume, people recognize him as Borat. So he's sort of worked that into the plot. This is the movie's plot. 14 years in hard labor in a Kazakh gulag. He's released and sent to the U.S. to restore Kazakhstan's reputation by bribing President Trump or Mike Pence. Originally, he's going to bribe them with the gift of a performing monkey who he doesn't know, travels with him, and she comes the gift to be offered to Vice President Mike Pence. So because people recognize Borat, he puts on a variety of costumes and is able to expose the sort of casual misogyny and anti-Semitism in many of average Americans. What's an extra treat is that when Borat speaks his language, in Kazakhstan, which I've been to, they actually speak Russian. What Borat speaks turns out to be a mixture of Hebrew, Polish, and Yiddish. So if you're listening to it, you'll hear sort of unexpectedly some Hebrew expressions said with a very good accent. And the young woman who plays his daughter is a Bulgarian actress, Maria Balkalova, and she improvises, she does comedy, she does it all. And I will not be shocked if she receives a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress. She's that good. So we all need to laugh. Borat is cringeworthy, but it's a lot of fun, so I recommend it highly.
I haven't watched it yet, but I've watched the preview, and even the preview is pretty funny. Speaking of films, I've been watching High Flicks, which Tom recommended, but there's another Israel streaming series called Izzy, and they have all the latest films, and they have great documentaries and a lot of Israeli short films as well that are, by young filmmakers. There's some really good new series. There's a detective series, an Israeli detective series, and there's a medical series. I love medical series. So I recommend Izzy with the latest Israeli films.
And it's subtitled in English?
Yeah, all subtitles in English.
Great.
I know you have a photography exhibit you want to talk about?
Well, it's not an exhibit, it's a documentary.
All right.
About Pete Souza, who was the White House photographer for Ronald Reagan and then for Barack Obama. And after the Obama years, when President Trump came into office, Souza, who was sort of apolitical up to that moment, felt that the photography in the White House was being carried out, which is almost no access to the White House photographers. He suddenly started a very popular Instagram account and published a book called Shade, where he's throwing shade at the president. And so the documentary is about his evolution into a much more political figure, but it's also about being White House photographer. And there are great images. And in the course of being the White House photographer during the Obama administration, they had a tradition in the White House of putting up prints in a certain hallway so other people who worked in the administration could see these photos. And during the Obama administration, they actually started a White House account on Flickr. And it struck me, because Pete Souza was a White House photographer and were posted on this public public website that should be available for free to anyone because they're our government. If you go onto this website, you can download for free these amazing images. So I downloaded a photo of President Obama with Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Justice Elena Kagan. I downloaded a photo of President Obama with Elie Wiesel. There is an amazing photograph of President Obama, Michelle Obama, and Representative John Lewis all together marching across the Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama. And a photo of President Obama and Ruby Bridges in front of the painting by Norman Rockwell of Ruby Bridges as a 9-year-old being first to integrate her school. So there are great images there, including the image of the Situation Room when they were doing the Osama bin Laden mission. So
did you frame them?
I have downloaded them. I am waiting to frame them.
Oh, you're going to frame them, basically.
I'm actually going to put them on a video.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I'm going to definitely look. I would love to have some of those photos. They sound amazing.
And the price is right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, everybody knows I'm a big feminist, and I'm always looking for things about women. I'm the voice of the female consciousness at the temple. And not the only voice, but a voice. And there's been a series of archaeological talks at the Stryker Center at Temple Emmanuel. And this week, it's the ancient gender gap, the Bible, archaeology, and Israelite women. And it talks about the role of the Israelite women and how their rights and what they didn't have and how they were treated in the ancient world, which I always find fascinating. It's November 4th, and it's with Dr. Carol Myers, and I think it'll be really interesting. There's not that much information on that, so I guess you have to be a real scholar to dig it out. I love to see how women lived in other cultures and how similar we are today and how different we are today and how far we've come and how little we've moved forward. So I find that really interesting. So you were going to talk about David Burns?
Yes, David Byrne, the former member of the band Talking Heads, had a Broadway show called American Utopia, based on his 2018 album of the same name. The performance was filmed by Spike Lee. Before I watched it, I was thinking, why is this a Broadway show and not just a concert? It turns out that David Byrne has some thoughts on building community and how we build community. Basically, how we present ourselves and what life is like today. Brought interesting choreography, great musicians with him on stage. They perform about 20 different songs, some of which from the Talking Heads days. Spike Lee did an amazing job of making you feel like you're part of the performance. And I think right at this moment, we need things that are uplifting and things that bring us together. And so for all those reasons, I recommend American Utopia.
Thank you. So
now I know you've been spending this weekend with a guilty pleasure. Tell us about it.
So I'm watching this. First of all, I have to say, my brother in Chicago told me you have to watch this series. And then my sister in New York said, oh my God, I binge watched the whole thing and it's 16 episodes. So it's a Korean series called Crash Landing on You. And first you see very wealthy, sophisticated Seoul, South Korea, and this very, very wealthy young woman whose family are billionaires. And she has her own business. She's a fashion commentator and she has inventions. And she decides she's testing a new jumpsuit in a paraglider. And so she gets up in the paraglider and she's sailing up over the countryside. And then there's a hurricane and she crash lands in communist North Korea, and you see how militaristic it is, and she's found by a soldier, and it's like a valley girl going to like Bulgaria or someplace. It's the difference in life, and she can't get out. She's trapped there for a while, and it's about her relationship with this very handsome Korean soldier. What I found out about Koreans, they're very emotional. I didn't really know that. I mean, they cry and they are in love and they suffer and they're very beautiful looking people. Anyway, it's very funny and very interesting. What can I say? It passes the time and you're smiling while you're watching it.
I'm smiling just hearing about it.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's on Netflix.
Now, before we wrap up today's episode, tell us a little bit about what's going on at the temple.
So a lot of stuff is happening. On Tuesday, November 3rd, which is voting day, everybody. Don't forget. Most of us probably already voted. I mean, I did. Is
I
Rabbi
voted yesterday. It was very exciting.
It is exciting. Rabbi Shapiro is going to be teaching about the different Jewish movements. What's the difference between Orthodox, Conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist? On Wednesday at noon is Rabbi Eshel teaching about Hasidism and Kabbalah. And Thursday at noon will be Rabbi Leader talking about the Jewish view of abortion, forbidden, allowed, or both. He's got a great teaching about it because he said he wrote a study on it, a paper, and it's very interesting, the Jewish view of abortion. It has a lot to do with your psychological, not just your physical health, but your emotional health as well. And one last thing, today we had our first European Journeys lecture from Mike Hollander, who's a tour guide. He taught from Israel. It was 9:30 in the morning. We had 80 people watching. It was fantastic. It's basically a PowerPoint where he teaches and tells, but we see all the sites. And it was Poland. And in 2 weeks, it will be St. Petersburg and the story of Russian Jews.
Oh, wow.
So we invite everybody to join it with us in all these different classes and try some of our recommendations and have a great week. Bye, everyone.
Take care. See you next week. Bye.